Hi folks, welcome to another video on box plots. And in this video, we're going to take a look at how it is that we can use technology to help us make a box plot. Okay, so you've already watched a video where you know how to do it by hand, or you learned how to do it by hand, and it might kind of seem like a lot, right? You got to make sure all your data points are in order. You have to make sure that you're counting correctly. So many places for human error, right? And so I want to use this video to show us how to use StatCrunch to find data for, data sets that might be bigger, or just we're just feeling a little bit like lazy, okay? More that we want to focus on the interpretation than actually writing it out. All right, so let's take a look at this question. We've got test scores for a college statistics class held during the day, and there are 20 test scores listed out here. So that's kind of a lot to lay out, make sure they're in order, divide it into its quartiles, right? And then the second set of test scores is for a college statistics class held during the evening. So we can see that there's 2 more students in the evening class. There's 22 students, whereas in the daytime, there's only 20. And this question asks us to find the 5-number summaries for the 2 data sets, find the interquartile ranges and compare them, and draw side-by-side box plots, right? So let's use technology. You're going to open up StatCrunch. I've already typed in these values, okay? So I'm going to show you where they are, and then how is it that or which buttons to click to make sure that we get a box and whisker plot, okay? So let me switch screens. All righty. So let's zoom in a little bit. All right. So as you know by now, I like to label the columns that we're putting in here. It helps me remember what it is that I'm trying to find, right? So I have test scores by day, and I've listed those 20 scores. I can also see I didn't miss any typing them in because I have 20 data points, okay? I did the same thing for the test scores in the evening. I typed them all in, and I found a total of 22 data points. All right. And so we're going to go ahead to graph, right? When I hover over graph and we go down, no bar plot, no pie chart, no chart, no histogram, no stem and leaf, but we want to go to the box plot. Okay. So I'm going to click on box plot. And it turns out I can do them one at a time, or I can just do them together on the same grid. And since eventually it wants us to plot them side by side, let's just do the 2 of them together. Okay, so I'm going to select day and evening. And I'm going to the grouping options. I'm going to plot columns for each group, and I'm going to draw the boxes horizontally. I can show where the mean is on here. Okay, with the green, and maybe I can show the percents too. And let's compute it, see what we get. Okay, so I only clicked the evening. I do want to go back and click the day one as well. So let me go back to edit. I want day and evening. I got to highlight those both, and then let me go ahead and click that. All right, now let's make this much larger because we want to be able to see. Okay, so let me stop for a moment, make sure you can actually see what's on my screen. All right, let me reshare, and yeah, I think you can. Okay, so we have the test scores by day, and then we have the test scores in the evening, and we can see that the evening scores are much higher. And in fact, we can see that our there we go. If we hover over it, we can see that our median is 82, our Q1 is 78, our Q3 is 89, and we have sort of a smaller spread. But what we also have in this evening class are 2 outliers, right? In fact, we've got an outlier here, and we've got an outlier here, right? So it even tells us that it's the 22.4 and the 45, that those were outliers. And so we see here that the whiskers don't go to the outliers. They just sort of go to the one right before the outlier, and then the outliers are kind of farther away, okay? And so this would be a good example of why using the Q3 minus Q1, or we call that the interquartile range. That interquartile range, or how wide is the box, will be a much better indicator of spread. Now, if we look at the test scores in the day, same thing when we hover over it, which shows us our interquartile range, our Q1, our median, our Q3. And we noticed that in the daytime, there were no outliers. Everyone was just kind of in this same region. No one was like drastically higher or drastically lower in score, okay? But the question does ask us to sort of compare the IQR, so the spread. We can see here that the IQR is 26.5 for the daytime scores. And what that means is that the middle 50% of the data of the test scores are between 56 and 83.5. But if we go back to the evening test scores, we can see here that IQR is half, right? This box is actually half as wide as the daytime one. There's a lot less spread. It seems like the scores are a lot more consistent between that 79 and 80, or 78 and 89, which is a Q1 and Q3, okay? So what we see here, we get a good comparison, right? And it's also a lot easier than sitting and doing it by hand. So I hope this was helpful, and let me know if you have any questions.